Hello and welcome again to another episode of Marketing for Financial Advisors. I'm your host today, Donovan Stull. Today I am joined with Reese Harper. He is the CEO of Dentist Advisors as well as Elements. It is a financial planning software that he has created here over the last 2 years, you said? Was that Reese? About the last 2 years? That's awesome. Yeah. Thank you for being on here today. Certainly appreciate having you. So I want to just dive right into this and learn a little bit more. So Dentist Advisors, that sounds like it's a pretty niche company name. You want to fill me in a little bit more on that?
Yeah, man, I appreciate you having me on today. I hope we can share some content with advisors that'll help them have a few ideas around marketing that hopefully will be helpful. I started in the industry in more of a generic kind of practice. I started an independent firm and was kind of going after a lot of different types of business owners. I found that a couple of the dentists that I was working with seemed to be people I liked, people I enjoyed working with, but they also seemed to have a lot on their plates. They were business owners, but kind of a different type of business owner. They were what I call an entreprofessional, which is like someone that does a task, does like a clinician of some kind, or an artisan, or some kind of craftsman, a doer of work. But then they also try to run a business at the same time that they're trying to do that task. And so it leaves them very little time for business stuff and consequently very little time for personal financial stuff. And because they're busy the whole time, like dentists are busy with their hands in people's mouths, and so they don't really have a lot of time for anything else. So that customer seemed to be someone that really valued what I did, and I just decided to brand my business around that and go after it. And that's kind of, it's been almost, I think I probably officially, if I recall correctly, it probably would have been like 2010, I think, was when I really committed to that. Okay. So 2010 to 2020, just 10 years of really focused growth on that target customer. And today we have dentists in every market, and we're growing rapidly and have a great group of advisors that are focusing on that market and have a great planning process that's really tailored to them.
Very cool. So did you notice that dentists in particular had a particular type of retirement plan set up, or they had certain, whether pensions, whether they were more tax focused? What did you notice about them particularly when it came to their planning?
Well, we kind of have a philosophy, as you know, Donovan, customers don't switch advisors that often. And so we didn't try to go steal dentists from other advisors. We tried to create our business to go after a part of the market that was younger, that was accumulating. They don't have as much assets at that point in their careers, but they haven't picked an advisor yet either. We created kind of a unique fee model to where they pay us a subscription for access to us while they're building up assets. So that could range anywhere from $3,600 a year or $295 a month up to $795 a month, depending on the complexity of the person. And then as they build assets with us, then we bring that monthly subscription fee down.
Okay, very cool.
Now, to answer your question directly, they didn't really, most of our customers don't come to us with a lot of established accounts. Some of them do, and they would be people that had a 401k or profit sharing plan, most likely not a DB plan or any kind of pension plan, but they'll come to us with IRAs, simples, qualified plans that are kind of basic in the early stages. And then we manage all of that and set up all their outside accounts and brokerage accounts as well.
Okay. Now, do you find yourself working more with the independent people who own their own companies, or people who might work for some of these bigger box companies? To leave some of the names out of there, but some of the ones that you might see on every other corner versus the one of the Mr. and Mrs. Smith Dental Group.
Yeah, we're going after the entrepreneur dentist. So we're targeting either the associate. That's the name of the person that works for the dentist. We go after the associate that wants to become an owner soon. That's about as early as we go. And, we'll find people that are wanting to break away, wanting to start their own thing, or we'll work with the owners directly that already are in their own practice.
Very cool. Very cool. Not to give away any secrets by any stretch of the
Hey,
imagination
there's
here,
no
but
secret here, man.
how did you find yourselves marketing to dentists? Where did you said that you already had some that you enjoyed working with, that you kind of got through the door, but then what was that big breakthrough of saying, okay, now I'm going to focus my attention on them, and this is how we're going to start building them into that funnel?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a one channel marketing initiative, unfortunately. But we write for dental trade magazines. We have a pretty extensive education library on our site. We have an SEO strategy. We have a podcast called The Dentist Money Show that's got 20,000 plus monthly listeners. We've got, a video channel. We have guidebooks, e-guides. We've got events, partnerships. So we've got like a 10-prong approach, and
You've really hit every which direction on that.
Yeah, it takes a long time, and we had to invest pretty heavily in marketing early stage to build the in-house resources necessary to kind of own that channel or own that vertical a little bit. There's other competitors that are doing a great job too, but there's room in a big market for a few people. But we don't think it's it's not a super massive market. Like if I were to bump into a competitor like me and I was picking a niche, I might try to find a medical niche or a medical specialty that wasn't as already saturated by a large competitor. But the same token, like I welcome a lot of people that want to focus on dentistry. I think it's a great market, and people just get along with different people too. So you're going to find that your business in a market as big as dentistry, there's room for a lot more specialists.
Sure. Well, I mean, the age-old saying of imitation is the biggest form of flattery. And in this industry, we do see it all the time. I mean, we work with so many different advisors around the nation that some say, well, we only focus on people who are car manufacturers, whether it's a Honda, GM, to name a few, or we only work with people who are, airlines, Southwest, United, Delta. That's all great. And, each one of those all have its own separate thing. So you can focus on the one particular company, or you could go broad and say, yes, we just work with anyone in the aviation field because that's just our specialty. So in complete agreement. I mean, there's always room for more growth in there because every person has a unique, they all have unique characteristics. So you might not get every last person that comes through the door. And of course, you've built that up, but it's always not going to be it.
Yeah, you're right. And the customer is smart enough to figure out who knows who really is a specialist and who's not. You're not a specialist by saying you work with someone. You're a specialist because you've spent years getting to know that person's occupation and actually know their occupation. Like, do you know the cost, of a cone beam? Do you know what a cone beam is? Do you know how to finance a cone beam? Because that's what the endodontist is going to ask you. And if you don't know the answer to that question, that's like the most common thing that you might get asked, And so if you're like, yeah, let me get back to you on that, then they're gonna know like right away, like you guys no idea.
I absolutely love that you just said this because that's something that we advocate for so much when we talk to other advisors. They're like, well, how do I break into this niche? Well, the first thing is you need to know their industry and their plans and their whole entire retirement inside and out. If you're working with anyone who happens to be a part of a corporation, you need to be better than HR.
Yeah, exactly.
You need to. That's what we tell them. If they can go to HR and get the answers for some of these things, that's great. But if they can go to you and you get more, and they get more from you, that's what makes you that specialist. So I love that you just brought that up there. That's huge.
I think like I always am surprised. Like there are people that are 25 years old that work for dentist advisors who know more about the dental vertical than some financial planners that say they specialize with dentists and have been, saying that for 20 years.
Sure.
Even though their brand, a 20-year veteran who's really specializing in dentistry would know way more than a 25-year-old that's working for me. But my point here is that maybe a 25-year-old started with me when he's 21 or 22, but that their entire career has just been knowing this one market. And, you know, a dentist that comes in will talk to one of our younger advisors and just immediately go, I don't care that you're 15 years younger than me. You know, like, you know, my vertical, you know, my occupation better than I seem to know my occupation.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll say, I talked to a bunch of people and they say they all work with dentists. You know, everyone says they do. And then but when I talk to you, you actually know. And that there's nothing that can replace time, you know, repetitions, at bats, you know. And if you've got, I think if you have only worked with 2 or 3, maybe even as many as 5 or 6 particular of the same type of person, you're just barely starting to get a taste of that occupation. You get to where you've got 15 or 20 clients in that industry, and you're getting close to like really knowing the market. Get to where you have 50 and you're starting to become more of an expert. You know, you get 100 and now you're probably in the top quartile of 1% of advisors in your market. And so it's not impossible, but it isn't branding that makes you the specialist. It's in addition to branding, it's, you know, branding is a way to get people in the door from a sales perspective, but once they get there, you have to be the person. You have to actually be a specialist, and that just takes time. So I always tell people, like, it doesn't really matter which niche you pick. It needs to be big enough, right, for you to have a full book, and it needs to be a group that values your time, right? Like, it could be like, you know, financial software engineers who have experience like coding for Robinhood's backend, like, or that might be a reasonably large niche because there's, you know, hundreds of them at dozens of platforms, but they're probably not going to value as much as a painter, like a local artisan painter in a community.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
But you know, once you get your niche picked, right, get a reasonably sized market. Like for me, it would be like, you've got to be able to at least have probably like 5,000 people nationwide in that vertical at a minimum. I would be more comfortable with like 20,000, you know, like a little bit bigger market. But once you pick that market, like, you have to pick it again and again and again and again, that same market. You have to reselect it and convince yourself that it is the right place for you to select for probably a year or more, because that first year of picking your niche, you're going to question it like every week, and you're going to keep questioning it, and you're going to feel stressed out that it's not working, and maybe you made the wrong decision, and you're burning bridges because your neighbor comes over and tells you, hey, you want to manage my money? And you're like, I can't, because I kind of can, but I don't know, maybe I picked the wrong niche. That's going to happen to you, but you have to get through that stage, because you, in order to be the specialist, you have to get on the other side of knowledge to where you own the market. And that's just going to take some time. And so owning
it's that grind. I mean, it's that grind, it's that perseverance, it's that hustle that goes into it. And I respect all of that. I mean, you mentioned before, you know, hey, we have a 10-prong, you know, vertical here of how we got in front of all these people. And that's fantastic, because, you know, when you're doing mailers or seminars or in-person events, or I'm going to you're coming to me, you know, here I am on Facebook, here I am on all these social media platforms, YouTube, podcasting. You are in every which way they could possibly look. And that's what has to set you apart. Now, yes, of course, you know, backing up, you still have to know their industry inside and out, and you can't look like a fool when it comes to being able to talk to them, because they will chew you out. 100%. We've seen it before. They will let you know that you were wrong. But when it comes down to it, though, if you're able to prove that side of it, and then every which way that you look, and they come up to you and they're like, wow, you know what? I've seen you just about anywhere and everywhere. I got a mailer from you. You invited me to this event. I, you know, saw a podcast pop up the other day. I go to YouTube for something, and there you guys are again. And now I'm on Facebook, and there's your ads. So you're doing all the right steps, and I absolutely love that. No, thank you for that insight. That was absolutely fantastic on that. The niche markets are so key. I think that they can be absolutely dominant, provided that you're willing to put that work into it. You know, that's obviously not something that you just said one night, all right, I'm going to do this. And now here we are 1 year later, and you're this thriving success story on dentists. It obviously does take quite a bit of time. But kind of transitioning here, let's talk a little bit more about your software that you've created. This is Elements. Now, this is a financial planning software for advisors.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a client engagement platform and financial planning software. It's very different from what you're going to see in the industry traditionally. There are a lot of different ways that advisors can create value with a client. You can sell product. That's traditionally what we've done, right? We've been the person that they bought things from. Right? They bought a 401k from us, or they bought life insurance originally from us. That was the first thing they bought, like in the 1800s. Like,
right.
First financial advisors were life insurance salesmen, like, to be sure. And, they started adding ancillary advice to selling insurance. And in the early, 20th century, you started transitioning to like other things, right? The stock market is not even as old as insurance companies. Like, insurance companies are older than the stock market. And so we started like brokering stocks, and then we brokered mutual funds, then we brokered wrap accounts, and then we, then the fiduciary trend starts coming around, and then financial planning starts becoming a thing. And like the 80s and now investment management, used to be kind of our main value proposition, was like, we can get you investments and we can help manage all of your money. But there's a lot of pressure on that part of our value proposition now, because technology is kind of eating into it. Robo platforms are making it just easier for people to like manage investments without an intermediary. So the value of financial planning now, the value of advice, right? It's starting to rise to the highest part of the value proposition. That's why we hear all this stuff about niche marketing and, carving out your niche, because it's like, once you do that, you can give advice that's valuable. Like, I know things about dentists that they'll pay for, that they'll pay for whether I manage their money or not, right? Money management's a very small part of my value proposition at Dentist Advisors, because it's only one component. It's a convenient thing where, some of our customers are just going to go, yeah, I don't want to do all that. Okay, but they're not picking us, not coming to us because we manage money. If that were our only value proposition, no one would show up at the door. And so the software kind of was born from this like rising need in financial planning to become the main value proposition. And in the past, we've only really had software that can do like Monte Carlo simulations or goal-based, planning, right? Where you tell someone how much they want to save up to reach a goal, or how much they're going to have to save up to retire. But those are two narrow parts of advice that a lot of the next generation don't really care that much about. Their goals change so fast that they don't really have like a specific goal. Retirement isn't the same value that it used to be. Like, everyone feels like they'll retire at some point, but that's not like the primary thing that they're worried about. They have like a lot of things they're worried about during their career, during the accumulation phases and during the later phases of their career, that are related to how they live and the way that they want their life to be. They are concerned about real estate. They're concerned about debt. They're concerned about how much cash to keep around, how much liquidity to have versus how much to invest. They're concerned about their cash flow. They want to make sure they don't have too big of a house, or that their savings is like big enough that their cash flow is like prioritizing a savings rate that's healthy. So we kind of just organically ended up building a financial planning system while building Dentist Advisors that takes a bunch of KPIs about people, scores them, and then we benchmark those scores to other people. And so if we have hundreds and hundreds of dentists, we can say, hey, you're 39 and you're making 190,000, or you're making 400,000, whatever the number is. And we can say, this is how much people that make what you make are saving right now on average. And you're 2% below the mean, or you're 6% above the mean. You're doing great, or you're a little behind. Or, this is what someone's net worth is at this age with this amount of money that they've made in their lifetime. Like, maybe someone's made 800 grand since they started working. And we want to look at what's the average net worth for someone who's made 800,000 since they started working. Is it 200? Is it 250? Is it 300? Then we can give people guidance on whether we feel like they probably have made some mistakes, or maybe they've made some investment mistakes, or maybe they've made some spending mistakes, or maybe their lifestyle is a little bit rich, right? We can use data to kind of bring people in and help hold them accountable. So basically have like a process where you onboard a client, give them a mobile app that scores them and creates a scorecard of all of their KPIs. It's a periodic table of financial elements. That was kind of the origin. And then the client is able to see their scores, and then you interact with them throughout the year on a series of touch points that helps them improve certain areas of their finances and compares them to people that are like them. So that's kind of where we're at. We've really focused on mobile and built out native mobile platforms instead of like web-based platforms on the phone. Okay. We have native mobile apps, and then those apps integrate into a database, and then the advisor has a UI that is through both their phone and their computer to be able to analyze someone's situation. So
then the advisor would have their platform. They can plug in all of their clients' data, their information in there, and then client A is able to download this mobile app, and they have essentially all of their information right then and there that they can check out all of those bench points. I was looking at your website, and for those listening, it is getelements.com, correct?
Yeah.
Getelements.com. So you guys can go through there, check out all that. You can request to book a demo with Reese's team to learn more of how this might work for you guys. And there, one more time, that's getelements.com. So you're then from there, your client's able to just see all that information, but they're able to effectively interact with their advisor through that mobile device. Is that correct?
Yeah, and the advisor is actually helping the client enter a lot of data too. So we try to get the client trained on maintaining their profile. The mobile app's not like a one-way app like some of the other platforms are, where it's like read only on the mobile side.
Sure.
It's like a two-way street. So if someone enters a piece of real estate, you're getting pinged as an advisor showing that they just entered some data, and you're able to see the changes that the client is making as well as the changes that you've made. So the experience that we're going for is to get clients to engage with the technology so that they can take ownership of their plan, of their data, and feel like they're a little bit more a participant in the process. Okay. Right now, most of the tools are kind of one way. They're built for the advisor. They're engineered for the advisor. They were designed for the advisor without the client really being part of the design process. And so that's kind of a summary. There's a lot of reporting. There's monthly touch points. This helps advisors just justify the value proposition of being a wealth manager, being a financial advisor, as investment management continues to get pressure. You're going to get more pressure over the next 10 years on your fees overall, whether it's AUM fees or fixed fees or subscription fees. There's going to be pressure for you to provide more value as a financial advisor, a financial coach, a financial wealth manager. And financial planning is where the opportunity for innovation, we think, is. In the past, we just haven't innovated that much. You can see it in the software market. I mean, wealth managers pay anywhere from $8,000 to $12,000 on investment related software per year. And they probably spend a $1,000 or $2,000 max, on financial planning related software. The market for financial planning has just been not evolving as much because we've been able to depend on sitting on people's money and charging 1.5% and not doing a whole lot. Like that's been the industry for like the last 20 years. That's not going to be the case going forward. And so advisors need to start, realizing that and preparing their firms to have a revenue base that's more predictable, more diverse. At Dentist Advisors, we still charge 1.5% on AUM. So on the first $1 million, we're at 1.5% on AUM, and then we are also charging a subscription fee on top of that that ranges anywhere from $295 to $795 a month. And so about 40% of our revenue is coming from planning fees,
Sure.
subscription fees, and that's just a more stable revenue base than transactions. And so we think that's kind of where the future is going. And our planning system is intended to support advisors getting to the place where their business starts to get looking more like a place where planning is the value, planning is being compensated for instead of being like a giveaway for assets.
Do you see the software from the client side of it being geared more towards a younger investor, perhaps the 40 to 54 versus the 55 plus crowd?
Yeah, it will be. That's kind of where we think we can make the biggest impact. That's where firms need to invest. I mean, if you're like investing heavily right now in 65 plus, and that's your market, that'll still be fine for a while, but the product market's changing, like the annuity market's changing, the insurance market's changing. All product distribution, all of the products that we sell and get paid to sell, those are going to become more and more of a commodity as technology continues to eat away the value of brokering.
Right.
Brokering is not going to pay what it used to pay. And you've got to transition your business to where the customer is receiving value and they know they're paying 10 grand a year. They feel like that value proposition is worth it to them, and that's an important, I think, transition for the industry. And so we're starting with the customers that are accumulating, because we think that's where we can make the biggest impact right now is if we can bring new revenue into advisors' firms by giving them a process that they can justify charging a fee to clients for, or if they just want to use this as an AUM tool, they can feel like they're providing more value to their AUM clients, that their AUM clients are going, man, I'm really getting a lot of value right now. And you can raise your AUM fees. You can either way, however you choose to get compensated, or you could do both like me, where I'm like, I want both. I'm not going to subsidize a younger client when they don't have any assets. They're going to have to pay. And so I think that's where we're trying to target is that accumulator market.
Oh, that's fantastic. No, really appreciate the insight on that. That just, it goes to show that it's always providing value to your clients. It doesn't matter the age, you still should be providing some sort of value in any way, shape, or form. And this right here is just really giving them that value on a device that we already use 99% of our day. So it's the fact that, letting them just look at it, all right, I can open up this app, let me go ahead and check some things, because let's admit it, everyone has some of those clients who they want to know everything every last second of the day for what it's worth. And that right there, you're essentially giving it to them in the palm of their hand, while still working with you and being able to care for their funds. That's a fantastic setup you have there.
We're really careful about not we don't believe that clients need to be obsessed over their data, but we have what's called a prompt engine. It's like a notification system, a push notification system that helps them know what to do and when. So they'll get a nice little task to complete, like updating a piece of data. They have a quarterly review in the app where they're going to update all their information so that the advisor can then generate a progress report. There's a lot of back and forth between the client and the advisor, and it's less about being obsessed about looking at it, and it's just more nice to look at every day, nice to look at every other day, nice to glance at once a week, whatever the cadence is that the customer's comfortable with. But when they do go there, they're going to see what to do and what tasks to complete and what's pending, and they're not going to have to jump into email and jump into their CRM and jump into their financial planning software and jump into their investment logins. It's just too much. And so we're trying to give the client a unified experience and make it just simple for them to know what to do.
Simple is absolutely key. Don't want to overcomplicate anything on this. Reese, this has been absolutely fantastic today. Genuinely appreciate you being on this podcast with us, be able to talk a little bit more about your niche market, a little bit more about your program. Again, for everyone listening, that is Elements. It's a financial planning software, once again, for advisors to use with their clients. You can find that at getelements.com, getelements.com. Go there, check it out, book a demo for Reese's team to show you how that will work, how that will be able to benefit your business a little bit more. Anything else you'd like to add here, Reese, before we sign off?
No, man, I really appreciate you having me on. Just want to wish everyone the best and say thanks to all the advisors for all the work that they do to try to help clients. This is a special industry, and yeah, we have a big opportunity to really make a difference in people's lives. And we not all advisors get a pat on the back for the work that they do. It's hard, and it's not easy, and it's emotional, and there's a lot of tension. You're dealing with the most stressful topic in people's lives, and I just admire everyone's effort trying to stick it out and help people. It's a needed career and something that I really value. So thanks to everyone who's listening for all the work that you're doing.
Awesome. Very well said, Reese. Well, again, we appreciate it. Again, this is Donovan Stull with Marketing for Financial Advisors. Appreciate Reese Harper being on again. Once more, guys, that's getelements.com to check out that financial planning software. Appreciate everyone listening in today. Thank you.